Please kill me. Preemptively, please murder me. Unironically, stab me with a knife. Please, please eliminate me. Anyhow, let's get to fun times. Writing competition 2, Electric Boogaloo, 2 months later. And kill me, please. Alright.
My kettle is lost.
We're starting the reading of mine. We're going to read mine first. And we're going to share my screen.
He didn't grade his piece last time, so he just likes to write.
Yeah, I just like to write. I just wrote it because I wanted to.
Oh! Sorry, Chris. You just hit me in the soul.
Why?
I just read Saber and I'm just like, oh boy. So either be really good or how many pages is that?
10.
Let's go.
Thank God I'm able to edit some of these. Yes.
It's 10 pages long. And I wrote this in 2 days. So if I can write this in 2 fucking days, by the way, you guys are useless is all I have to say.
Yes. I don't deny it.
Alright, I'm gonna unmute Cal, maybe he'll be funny. Cal,
Yeah.
are you funny?
Yes.
Sometime.
Alright, I'm
Not
muting
funny.
you again.
Oh,
Didn't laugh.
He got muted again. He's gone. He's deleted. Anyhow.
Oh, the tea bag broke.
Time to read out my piece.
Well, to be fair, it's just a rolled up piece of coffee filter.
This should be a whole lot easier because a lot of these pieces are shorter. It shouldn't take us 3 hours. Direye, how do you have 8 pages already? What? Last I checked, you had 4. What?
Oh.
Direye, it hasn't even been like 10 minutes. What? Okay. If it had been a different life, a different decision, a simple choice, would I still be standing on my own 2 feet? I ask that for a good reason, as I lay in this bed and I'm still not sure what happened to them. My legs. What did happen to them? I don't think I can remember. A wave of pain rushed over Moltke as he laid there, his head pounding in the place where his legs once were aching in massive amounts of pain. He was just muttering nonsense to himself, but after saying all that, he was knocked back out from the pain. Levin Moltke, that was his name. Born on Mecklenburg in the Deutsche sector of the Caldaris Empire as the second son to the Moltke noble family, his life was much simpler back then. A boy who once was 10 got ripped and sent into the Schule des Leidens, his family's personal hell school. Of course, he was unique. Unlike most of the people there, he wasn't an orphan. He was the son of a subsector leader, a duke. His father was a damn High Lord Marshal, one of the highest ranks of the Imperial Marines. Of course, that was more due to his family ties and rulership ability than any actual leadership ability. Of course, that was in contrast to Levin, who got sent to that hell school to build him up to be a strong warrior and leader. The Schule des Leidens, if you asked him today, he would say it was a nice part of his life. Of course, that was because they rewired the once well-mannered and nice boy. They rewired him into a cold and loyal killer. Or well, they tried. They didn't completely succeed, mostly in regards to the loyal part. Levin made it out, top of his class, having killed many of his fellow men on multiple occasions. Then, after hell for 8 years, he was given an ultimatum. He was to either sign on to be in the Caldari Armed Forces and make a name for himself in the Marines or Navy, or be stuck as the second to his brother for the rest of his life, just the Planetary Defense Force commander. That lack of loyalty left him to choose the former, to go and make a name for himself. He wanted to lead, and he didn't want to simply be second to someone else. He wanted to be the best. Of course, such aspirations made him have to choose a branch. There was the Navy, which was the safer option, more guarantees of survival, but less high positions to achieve. Then, there were the Marines. Much lower lows, but even higher highs. If he did well enough, he could be a planetary governor himself. Just would have to get Marshall for that. Of course, such an achievement would be difficult, but it was the dream.
Oh wait, this is a Christmas piece?
What to choose. Yeah.
I thought it was Direye for a second.
No, I'm not reading Direye yet. You hadn't, like, picked up, like, oh yeah, Caldari, you know. You haven't picked up, like, stuff like that yet?
It's
Yeah.
my manga story.
In the end,
Sorry, I'm focusing on writing.
he decided to opt for the Marines. He wanted to be the greatest, and to do that, he would need to risk the most. He would need to risk his life every day in order to achieve that renown and recognition that he deserved. He would need to writhe in the dirt for a while to achieve that. Well, he could not possibly understand how right that was. Without the support of his family, he went off on it.
So,
Fuck, this retainer's really fucking up my speech.
no. Sorry.
He went and signed on for the Marine Academy, passing through it with ease. It was hardly even a factor. One thing he did realize at the time was he needed to be more sociable. Too much time killing his allies made him cold and hard to approach. With that, he went on to his first posting as a company minister, or adjutant, with hopes for greatness. As the lowest man on the totem pole, as a simple second lieutenant, it was difficult to progress. He expected this, however, and after 2 years, he got promoted to first lieutenant. Now, he got his first proper posting, an infantry platoon leader. It wasn't his first choice. In fact, it was quite the opposite. But he figured all officers of his rank had to do this. Everyone had to suffer in the mud at some point, and he was no exception. With that, time passed. He did suffer in the mud on more than one occasion. One time, he was posted to help a PDF garrison with rebels in the hot desert. It did meet an interesting man there, Alexander Anderson, a sniper. Anderson seemed to hate the job, but other than that, Moltke's time as a PDF assistant went off with just some hated sandblasting. Nothing major for his career. Then, the posting he was hoping for came. He went and got a posting as a mech commander. These towering mechanical walkers were something he always loved. He didn't really know why, but perhaps that was because he couldn't connect to people or something. After all, every time he lost a man, while his subordinates would cry and weep over fallen brothers, he would feel nothing.
Boys start, now we just die. I'm hiding in a bush. I can't beat him.
What are you listening to, Joey?
My brother's
just his brother.
game.
Well, tell your brother to shut the fuck up.
What game is that game, James?
Days gone.
What's gone?
Days gone.
My day's gone. It looks fun.
And tell your brother that he's a bitch-ass motherfucker.
It was fun though.
Days are gone. Or days gone. I don't know.
Days.
It's like a zombie game.
All his sympathy was false, just to save face. He never did understand that about himself. Time passed along, his mech posting going well for a long period of time. A mech platoon was only a small force of 16 people, but it was an important posting. He ended up getting injured in a battle badly after his mech got destroyed by a massive enemy infantry, but it was nothing but that a bit of metal and stitches couldn't fix. Time passed, and for his injury, he was awarded
They have like challenge modes.
He was awarded
I couldn't survive.
an award of a promotion to captain. His specific posting wasn't necessarily changed, but even then, he was fine with that. It was progress nonetheless. Then, during a posting on a Mediterranean world, some backwater planet named Nova Sicilia, his mech platoon was given an assignment to work with the PDF and deal with a series of pirate raids. Of course, he wasn't happy about it, but rebels shouldn't be able to withstand a whole mech platoon. Of course, that ended up being the opposite of the case. They got caught in a poor position, and Moltke decided to hold off the power armor troopers that rolled up on them. While power armor was, powerful, his mech should have been more than enough to handle it while the rest of his platoon continued to the objective. He was right about that, at least at first. Killed around 12 of them. But when one of them came up, they were smart. They grappled onto his entry hatch and broke it open. When that happened, he was
Titanfall 2 style.
This mech had seen him through thick and thin, and now he was almost defenseless. Moltke got pulled out of his mech and dragged to the ground. The helmeted man had the advantage in this situation, power armor, and Moltke was only wearing the pilot suit. Moltke quickly went for his gun, but had it knocked out of his hand. He then quickly went for his knife and went for a strike. It was easily blocked. Then the enemy grabbed Moltke's arm and threw him to the ground with ease. With powered armor like that, the practically unarmored Moltke hardly stood a chance. Damn you all to hell, Moltke screamed out as he was quickly pinned. The foe on top of him pulled out his blade and shoved it down on Moltke. He barely caught it and was holding it by the wire. His visor and hand were the only things between his knife and his eye. He held on as long as he could, holding it for around 2 minutes, struggling the entire time before his arms finally gave out. He lost his strength, and the blade easily punctured through his visor, entering his eye. His eye was destroyed, blood pouring out of it, and his entire body in pain. Moltke screamed out, him simply lucky that it didn't hit his brain. Thank God for my visor was all he could think, as he got out from under the man. He then heard gunshots, throwing the man in power armor a bit from the force. It was some PDF soldier with the name Medici on his armor. He decided not to worry about him for now, picking up his blade and going for the jugular of the foe. The blade punctured, and his blood spurted out in droves. If you thought Moltke's eye was bad, this pirate in power armor was much worse off. Moltke quickly pulled the dagger out of his eye, blood pouring out of it. He then quickly threw off his helmet, his black hair soaked in sweat, and one of his piercing blue eyes rushing a torrent of blood from it. The PDF soldier ran over to him, offering a shoulder as Moltke almost fell over from the pain and blood loss. Moltke was lucky to be alive, but it didn't seem like it would last for long. He tried to let out some words to the PDF soldier, but only slurred nonsense came out, half sentences and seeming nonsense. This Medici character tried to speak as well, but Moltke seemingly was too out of it from the pain to hear the man speak, only seeing it with his one good remaining eye. He soon passed out from a combination of pain, blood loss, and exhaustion. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed, a sight he was not all unfamiliar from. His shooting arm had seemingly been practically snapped in half by all the punishment it took, and his eye was unusable and unfixable, at least without cybernetics. He was just told to cover it up with an eye patch and wait for the arm to heal with time. It was odd. Every time he got a promotion, he would seemingly take some kind of major injury. He was just hoping it wouldn't become a pattern. He went and returned to active services, an eye patch over one eye, as he refused from his assistance from his father to pay for his cybernetics. He was too prideful for that. He continued along, serving for another few years as a captain. He was then promoted on a certain condition. He would have to lead over a brand new company of infantry, about 150 men or so, for a period of 2 years. He was 37 and only a captain, so he needed some upward mobility. Almost as soon as he accepted his promotion, a new program was announced, the Saber program. They were the Emperor's personal dogs, granted power over all others, as they acted under his direct authority. Of course, Moltke was not even considered for such a thing. Moltke would have loved it, having such authority, but that seemed impossible for him. He was still not good enough to be considered for the position, no matter how good he could potentially be. After all, he was a mere captain. He had a new goal, someone to envy and claw his way into being. He wasn't good enough yet, but that didn't mean he couldn't want to be them. A year passed, and then another half a year. Then, finally, they got a brand new assignment. He was used to this. Recently, a massive rebellion in the eastern fringes had occurred. Saber had only expanded, and he was still wasn't even consideration on the table of whoever picked for these things. It was frustrating, especially with the adding of the new S2 rank, expanding the open positions by a wide margin. There was the director, S2 specialists, S2 agents, S1 specialists, and S1 agents. That was Saber. Specialists being leading figures and agents being grunts. He wasn't even one of those. It was upsetting to him, to say the least. He didn't know much about Saber, but he knew that he wanted to take on such positions himself. However, he had his own assignment to worry about, dealing with the rebellion. He was supposedly under one of those S2 specialists, a certain S2 Karl Hipper. Almost every soldier and sailor knew that
Not
name.
bad.
Not only was he
Just no idea
previously the
what's
force's highest rank in the entire Navy,
He didn't even
he
see.
was
He's
the
not even
second in
seeing us.
command
He
of the
just
most renowned admiral in Kaldar's
Just shoot
history,
him.
Shepard.
He's
Of
got-
course, such a
his
person
helmet's like
above
so
him only made him want to move up more.
I shot with a shotgun point
Now,
blank.
they had a backwater
Wasn't that
planet to invade.
bad. I threw two
He was
Molotovs
assigned
at
to his
him.
dropship, and he saw a familiar face.
Oh,
It was
everything.
Medici. He went over and got some information about how he went and enlisted with the Marines a little after their encounter. Went and got himself to High Sergeant in the time. Moltke, of course, congratulated him, despite not really caring. Medici looked the same as normal, really, meaning he couldn't see any of his features because of the standard issue uniform he was equipped with. He did used to be able to see his eyes, but even that was covered by the standard issue kit. Of course, Moltke was much in the same way, but he did have a cap on, at least while on the dropship. He sighed as they went down towards the surface. The planet itself was a simple temperate black backwater, a place far different from his home. Ashfar 3, a simple world with urban centers and outlying forests and all that fun stuff, but truly nothing special, and constantly under harassment and raid by pirates. Perhaps that was why they rebelled. Of course, such free thoughts weren't very befitting of a soldier. No need to question why, just to question where the Emperor wants their guns to be pointed. Of course, such a mindset was trained into him over years of war. He decided to ignore such thoughts as they were brought to the ground, him seemingly having tuned out the sounds of black explosions all around them. When they were on the ground and the ramp opened for them, he ordered his men to charge out. After all, they already had their landing plans set, charge the enemy line in front of them, and hope not to die. High Sergeant Medici was one of the platoon non-commissioned officers in command in CIC's, highest in ranking enlisted individuals in his platoon. Guess that he had just been assigned here. After all, they had needed a reinforcement of troops for a while. Moltke sighed a bit before he rushed out just behind the rest of his men, firearm in hand, ready for combat. As they moved along, men around him were cut down, many of his company and others not. It was a dangerous fact to know that at any moment a stray round could hit and kill him. In fact, one almost did, hitting the man right in front of him dead in the head. Of course, that had to be his own company and CIC. That was going to be a pain. Soon enough, after some rough combat, the enemy line was taken, and they could begin their push into the city with some armored support. With this, and the war with the Xeno bastards in the east, the Quinn, they were definitely under supply and not properly supported for this war. It was going to be tough, but that was the sacrifice that the Empire had already accepted. The losses would be high, but that was seemingly the fine in the eyes of the Empire. Of course, a soldier's life is replaceable. The land they stood on wasn't. He knew that, but knowing he was expendable surely didn't breed good morale, or a desire to fight for the Empire in their war. However, he'd be a good little dog
Okay, I'm done
and
editing
follow
my piece.
orders, for now at least. Thank you, Direye, very cool. It was unmemorable that in the first combat they lost 10 men, which wasn't exceptional or terrible in regards to infantry casualties. It was normal for Marines like them to be lambs to the slaughter. Simple sacrifices without even knowing when they might be ordered on a suicide charge into an enemy machine gun, or perhaps be the sole force holding the line against an overbearing enemy charge. It was just what was expected of them. After all, they were the Kaldari Marines. They quickly moved on, getting orders to take one of the nearby hospitals in the city, something about setting up a medical station there. It checked out, but that didn't mean he liked the order either. It was going to be pain. And not only that, it was going to be a struggle for them. The city still needed to be cleared, after all. He was also without an NCOIC still, and he couldn't yet just grab someone. He would hold off on that for now. They pushed through, some enemy resistance, but nothing they couldn't handle. It was when they arrived at the hospital that they were going to struggle. It was an enemy strong point, having a machine gun emplacement that had them pinned. It was only through some quick thinking by Medici that an AT grenade was thrown at the foe, it taken out by the destructive force. They quickly pushed in and took the entrance, moving in and out of hospital rooms. His executive officer, his personal second in command, soon suggested that they kill any enemy injured, which, while it wasn't something against any rules of war, was never good for morale. Moltke had to make a quick decision, and he decided that killing killing most would benefit them better. The leadership were valuable POWs, but grunts would do nothing more than be useless. He ordered that the grunts be killed, and after all, it was the pragmatic decision. His men would surely lose some morale for this, but it was what they needed to do. If they were allowed to live, they could possibly return to active service as combatants. And he got orders from his boss, Lieutenant Colonel Bradshaw, that he was to leave a few men to hold the point until reinforcements arrived. And then, to get to the line, the draft troopers had landed and secured.
Fuck!
It wasn't his first choice, but after leaving one of his platoons, he hurried his men along to the trench lines that had been established. There, they should at least have a few moments to rest.
I apologize. I just felt it in my face.
He sat down in the dirt and pulled off his helmet, having a drink out of his canteen. Tasted great given his exhaustion, and the battle had just begun. Soon enough, a man approached him, another major. He looked over the man, and he looked familiar. It was Anderson. Now how did he end up stationed in this shithole? He offered his hand and said, "Anderson, how did you end up here?" The man chuckled a bit and then said, "Well, I might have upset my boss, Hipper, and got some frontline duty for a bit. Or rather, oversight duty." Wait, Anderson was an S2? That didn't make sense. Why was he selected? He was only a major. But that is the only reason a man like Hipper should even give a major like him the time of day. It made no sense to him. His head was spinning a bit from it. Anderson waved him goodbye and then left Moltke to his own devices. Before he could even get his bearings, Anderson was touching the communicator on his ear. He then approached Moltke and said, "Moltke, I have orders from Hipper to send your company out. Apologies. I'd rather not send you on a just charge. But it's his decision as the overseeing officer for now." That upset Moltke. But he had no choice but to. He would have to choose between saving his men now, preventing them from a suicide charge, and promptly being executed himself. Or he would have to accept the orders, with no other choice to provide to him. Reluctantly, Moltke put on his helmet and said to some commanders on the charge, "Prepare for a charge, men. We must take that enemy trench, for the Emperor's might." Well, he didn't believe those words himself. He knew what he must do. He and his men lined up at the edge of the trench, preparing to jump over. Moltke would go too, like a good leader should. Never order your men to do something you wouldn't do. Soon enough, he yelled out to them all, "Now!" All of the men jumped over, time moving slow. He wasn't sure if he could keep up. He was just running across the destroyed center. It looked like a field of dust and mud more than the park it would once been. There were some fences around that gave him that interpretation. As these thoughts raced through his head, he felt angered. He wanted to punch S2 Hipper for ordering him and his men to death. Then he felt his legs get ripped out from underneath him, his entire body getting shot into the air, and then everything went black. Moltke's phantom pain caused him seemingly to relive his entire life for a moment there. He chuckled for a bit, almost maniacally. He muttered something to himself, only to be heard by him. If they want the madman Moltke, they will surely get it. With that, he smiled to himself and chuckled a bit more before getting back to normal and cold. He then said to no one in particular, "The world does not care for men who do not act. I hesitated in the field of battle, and for my inaction, my legs have been taken. I will have your job as S2 Hipper, by any means necessary." A female doctor soon walked in and said, "Lieutenant Moltke, I came to ask about prosthetic options. Also, your father has messaged." He cut her off and spoke up. "I accept my father's offer for the new legs and new eye. I will trade my humanity for war. I will become a saber specialist." He quickly recovered his composure, looking over at the blonde woman. Yes, I haven't introduced myself. I'm S1 Rana. I've come to hand you this." She quickly handed him a data slate. "Welcome to Saber, S2 Moltke." And that's it. That's the story. 12 pages.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that you like doing these military stories.
Yeah, I find them fun to write.
I want to see if you could do like a romance story. I want to see how it is.
I could write a romance if I really wanted to, but it would just be It'd be more focused on
Maybe
the
like
mental
Roman
aspects.
soldier orgies.
No. Anyhow, spin the wheel. Who's going first? Who's going first? Who's on the chopping block first? It's Direye. Fuck Direye. All my homies hate Direye. All right, Direye, read your piece.
What did you say?
It's your
Oh,
turn.
somebody said they could go.
No, it's your
Somebody's
turn.
voluntary.
No. I don't believe in volunteers.
Oh, we just took the shit.
We
Me.
only. No, we only get the wheel. You get the
Please.
wheel.
There's a wheel.
There's a wheel.
Please.
Okay.
This is by random chance. You're going first, Direye.
I don't see the wheel.
Okay. You know what? Fuck it. Go.
What? Oh, there is going.
Yeah, Direye's going.
I don't
I spun the wheel and he's going.
What's to do?
I don't care.
Well, okay.
I'm
Go.
sorry, Luna. You're not allowed to sleep. That's cringe. You will go when the wheel decides you will
Yeah.
go.
Oh. Good luck.
Read.
Direye.
All right, Direye.
Can you read? I have a very bad stuffy nose. It's sore throat.
Bruh, I just read 12 pages. You want me to read another 8? And this is the
I'll read
first
it, I'll
line.
read it,
This first
I'll read
line.
it.
What's with these walls of text?
Oh, you did it! You did exactly what I did with the fuck story.
I wanted like one gigantic paragraph as the intro, and then I indented the rest.
The entire story is a paragraph.
No, scroll down and you'll see.
No, it's 8 pages long. They're
Yeah,
long
see?
paragraphs, though.
Yeah, no.
Night Sky.
I can't read it.
I'll read it.
It's kind of.
There's
Well, I
this-
can't read it 'cause the quality is so low.
Yeah, I figured. There's a dusty mirror at my work. Every day I pass by it and go to work. After passing by it, I usually throw on my uniform and start another day of mindless work. Besides saying the occasional hi to my coworker, I typically don't talk to anyone, not even to myself when I'm on my lunch break. After work, I go home, eat a quick fatty dinner, and fall asleep. I always look at how my old high school friends are doing with their lives.
I already, you son of a bitch.
As I scroll through the brilliant new social media app, I'm always struck at how my old schoolmates matured and advanced at such a higher rate than me. They all went to college, got wives, got their dream jobs, and bought new homes. After the war, housing prices throughout America dropped. However, since I was only employed as a fry cook, I wasn't even able to afford the cheapest of the cheap new homes. I was also too young to enter the war, so I wasn't able to get any of the new social benefits the government offered to new veterans. And all my friends either into college or got a high-paying blue-collar jobs thanks to the war. I wasn't able to get anything better than a fry cook job. Maybe it was due to my incompetence or laziness, probably a combination of both. I wasn't able to achieve my most basic of dreams. Nowadays, I don't even
That's new.
understand what those dreams are. Although, I'm not trying that hard to achieve said dreams. Every single time I pass that old mirror, I'm reminding that my entire life is revolved around starting a new day of mindless work that brings me zero joy, and every single time I come home, I feel an overwhelming sense of dread that it's too late to do anything, and that I have fallen behind all my peers in life.
Look at me.
That even though I am living in the most prosperous and peaceful time in human history, I am unable to accomplish the most basic of things. I am already 30, so it's probably too late to go back to college and attempt to do it over. I have forgotten how to make friends and socialize, and I have failed to sustain those friendships that I have already made. The only thing that I do on my days off is venting to my cheap and funny-looking Android. This Android is one of the older models that was made after the war. He was called the ATX 3600. He was made to talk to lonely widows whose husbands died after the war. Because of this, he cannot walk or do anything physical. The most advanced thing the AT 3600 can do is turn his head 180 degrees like a parrot. Can parrots even do that? One day, while venting to the AT 360 about a disrespectful customer, the android did something very uncharacteristic of itself. It interrupted me partway through my dripple and suggested something very simple. Why don't you just quit? I scoffed and replied that in most service jobs, people would have to deal with irritating customers. The robot then asked if I liked my job, which I replied with a look that says, "Do I look like I enjoy it?" The robot then asked if there was a job I would enjoy, and I just shook my head weakly in response. After that conversation, I realized that I didn't even understand what my dreams were, nor how I could find out what they are. Dreams, or what normal people would call goals, have always been an abstract thing for me. I always I haven't muted, so I can't hear him.
You still have to.
Anyhow, continuing along.
There's internet went out.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, I'm back now. I don't know. It literally just went out for like solid 10 seconds. Hello.
I always had stated goals of going to college or getting a flying car, but I never really understood why I wanted those things. It's like how a child will always say they wanted to be a police officer when they grow up, because of the vague sense of justice they have. However, in reality, police officers spend most of their time doing paperwork. When the teacher handed out papers asking what our future goals were, I just jotted down things that I thought my mother might have wanted to hear and what sounded cool. I never really understood what I wanted to do with my life, and I never tried to make my dreams less vague. After the conversation that I have with my robot pal, with 2 L's, by the way, Direye, there's so many, mistakes, grammatically here. Oh my god. I sat down for a minute and
I
tried
put
to...
our grammar lane. Mistake fixed it.
It did not
What a
fix it.
grammar issue. It should be fine. Grammar doesn't work on Google Docs.
It does. It's a beta
No, it
version.
does.
It doesn't work
Joey,
well.
sometimes fucking spread fake news.
It doesn't really work that well. I would criticize...
It doesn't. It actually makes a lot of grammar.
The only thing I could figure out for sure what I wanted was to try everything and see what I liked and didn't like. It was a very inefficient method, but I thought at the time that it was bulletproof, and it gave me a goal for the first time in my life. Nor will I just skate by and bemoan my circumstances. I will finally take action and carve out my own future with my bare hands. I expected that when I quit my job, my boss would feel a little bit sad and my coworkers would have me stay. However, instead of the emotional exit that I was expecting, all I received were a few lackluster goodbyes.
What put away?
After leaving the place that I have worked for the past decade,
That's our job.
I decided to go down to a local
Tell her-
posting of available
tell her.
jobs.
Why should you call him just to tell you that?
Shut up, Joey. I also looked at a few job postings online on Indeed and newspaper ads. What am I even saying? All newspapers collapsed even before the war. The first job I signed on to was a temporary landscaping business. Every day I would follow my manager through the trove of suburban houses and cut down small trees, pick up some leaves, attack a few weeds, and use the lawnmower to cut grass from 2 inches to 1 inch. Although at first it seemed like tedious and easy work, I quickly realized that it wasn't all what it seemed. The heat bore down on me as I pulled small weed out of the ground, and after pulling hundreds of these demon-like plants, I would come home exhausted. My hands started to quickly turn from their original soft self to a crusty, disgusting mess. I guess most people in the landscaping business would be proud to earn these scars. For them, is it a sign that they are working hard and making a tangible impact on nature? However, to me, this was a sign that I needed to put more lotion on my hands. The next job that I tried out for was that of a chef. When I was younger, I would binge watch the ancient series called MasterChef, and while the war was going on, we were forced to limit our food consumption, and most high-class restaurants were forced to shut down. I realized the importance of luxury foods. I started off working under an old head chef in charge of a small Mexican restaurant. The name of the restaurant was in Spanish, but in English it meant the land of the roasted bull. First, I thought that the name was just there to sound cool, but I quickly realized that it was meant to be taken seriously. I don't know if the owner has a personal vendetta against bulls, but from dawn to dusk, I would grab the slaughtered carcass of a bull and start to cut it, as the head chef would scold me in Spanish. I then washed the meat and prepared for the 3 customers that the land of the roasted bull had. But this cycle rinsed and repeated for the next few weeks. I started to notice that most service jobs were just rinse and repeat cycles, with only a few in the day-to-day life of the average service worker. And those differences were probably bad customer interactions. I attempted to quit the restaurant a few times by announcing that I was going to quit the job, but my bosses just gave me the silent treatment, and I lost the will to confront them and went back to work. I decided that the most mature way to confront this problem would be to not show up to work and block my boss's phone number after that service job. I decided to out dozens of more jobs, but to no avail. Art assistance. I'm a bad drawer, and I was unable to assist anyone in their art. If anything, the students assisted me in my art. Boxer. Was knocked out almost immediately. Salesperson. Was told to die on several times and was attacked by local security drones. The list went on and on. After a while, jobs realized that I was probably going to quit after a few days. The only jobs that would accept me were temporary jobs, such as seasonal positions. After learning about this news, I decided to give up on my plan and walk back home. It was pouring outside, and I didn't bring an umbrella, so the wind and rain tormented me. It was extremely cold and wet outside, but I was lucky enough to find some cover in an alleyway. I don't know if you believe in miracles, because I surely don't. However, these next few minutes challenged that belief to my very core. I sat down next to a shady-looking dude and attempted to avoid eye contact with him, even though it was quite obvious that I didn't want anything to do with him. He still decided to engage in a conversation with me. Hey man, you look quite down. What's up? Got fired from my job and now I have to go back to my old place of work. That must suck. You think? The old man, he got old suddenly, stopped talking for a minute and gave me a surly smile and said, "Do you want a job?" I stared at him with a look that said, "Of course I fucking do." Or, sorry, I said that in the wrong order, but it doesn't really matter. Then get a package from the Rocky Crips over there and bring it to the port tomorrow. I looked at him with a wary look. That sounds very suspicious. And where's the package exactly? I don't even have any methods of transportation. That's no problem. I decided to get up and walk away from this man before I get stabbed or something. Alright, the package is a bottle of wine, and I want you to give it to the sailor in blue. He will be waiting at the docks. The fuck are you talking about? Did you just do too much crack or something? You know that wine is legal, right? I just want to give my friend that wine bottle for my birthday. Who exactly is your friend, and why can't you just do it? I'm so damn old, and there's no way I could sneak the wine bottle from Beverly Hills to there without getting caught. Also, my friend is the sailor in blue. How much? This old geezer's bullying me. $1,000. Damn, that's just enough money for me to get past rent. Okay, let's say hypothetically I would do this. How will I be able to transport it without a vehicle? All he did was chuckle at me. The next day, I was faced with a 2003 motorcycle. Direye, I want to make a point of something. I don't know what year it is, so I don't know how old this is.
I think I said it. Yes. I didn't understand any models. Yes.
I got onto the lone motorcycle and put the bottle of wine in my pocket and started the engine. The slender vehicle bopped up and down as the engine was starving. It's been almost 15 years since I rode a motorcycle. If I remember correctly, I owned a motorcycle when I was 16. I thought that since motorcycles were in such rare supply, and that it used illegal substances to power it, ever since the war it had been illegal to own a gas-powered vehicle, that it would look extremely cool and edgy if I owned it. I attempted to hide it from my parents after I bought it from a close friend of mine, but they eventually found out. I probably only had the motorcycle for a few days, if I remember correctly, and grounded me. Let me continue. I should wait. After all in all, I'm still quite an amateur when it comes to this vehicle, and as soon as I started the engines, I immediately fell off my motorcycle seat. I felt like a kid trying to ride a bicycle for the first time. Like every time you tried to pedal the damn thing, you'd start wobbling and eventually fall off. Thankfully, I was wearing a helmet, so I wasn't greatly harmed by my idiocy. After several unsuccessful attempts to balance my body on the vehicle, I finally got myself situated and started my long drive. From my current location to my destination, it would take approximately 30 minutes. However, since I planned on not taking any roads near or in the city, it'd probably take me 3 hours, since I have to snake all the way around the city instead of just going through it. As I started to ride the dirt roads which outline the futuristic city, I quickly realized that a 2000s motorcycle is a terrible vehicle to go off-roading in. I should have tried to get an ATV or a dirt bike. Every time I would ride off a bump that was higher than 3 feet, I would immediately fall off my motorcycle and injure myself. The injuries were not anything severe. It was mostly just cuts and bruises. However, this did not deter me, and I continued towards my destination. After riding in a especially bumpy section of the dirt trail, I fell off my motorcycle and into some bushes. I brushed off the dirt and the leaves and got up from the bushes. I looked around, and when I thought that no one saw my embarrassing blunder, I spotted the eyes of a old frail woman who was carrying a basket and was picking berries through these bushes. At first I thought she was just a crazy old lady wandering through these woods more, but the more I looked at her, I slowly realized that her eyes were trying to tell me something, like, "You're not supposed to be here." And that's when it all clicked. I was crossing through a private property and gave her the biggest scare of her life. And we are near Orange County, so the old lady probably never had to deal with a shady dude in her entire life. I got off the bushes. Interesting. Apologized profusely and began to slowly walk to my motorcycle. I should probably just booked it through the city instead of going through such a roundabout route. To my shock, the old lady laughed off the whole incident and offered me some berries. I grabbed some, put it in my pocket, and began to put my motorcycle up so I can get the hell out of the situation. However, as I picked up my motorcycle, the old lady's nice grin turned into a face of horror. First, I didn't know why she looked so petrified. Is there a bear behind my back? No, because all bears have gone extinct even before the war. Is there another intruder behind my back? No, the chances of that are extremely low. Then I slowly started to realize the painful truth. The war was started because of climate change and an attempt by the U.S. government to hoard as many resources, notably oil, before they ran out. Most people's lives were ruined because of these resource wars, and here I am using a completely anti-environmental gas-spouting motorcycle in front of an old lady whose kids probably died during the war. The reason I went through these dirt trails was to avoid people, because I knew they'd get how upset they'd get if they saw that I was riding on a motorcycle. I let my guard down too much and exposed this lady to the truth. She'll probably call the police, and they will most likely get here in about 20 minutes. Shit. I only wanted to find work that I would have fun doing, but now I'm giving up going to spend years of my life sitting in a jail cell letting it all go to waste. However, I mustn't give up, because although I'll most likely get captured by the police, I still have a job to do. Until I get that job done, I wouldn't know if this was the correct job for me. I jumped onto my motorcycle and looked back at the old lady, but when I looked back at her, I noticed she was gone. She probably booked it to her home in order to call the police or grab a weapon. I, of course, wasn't staying here to find out which of those were true or not. I started to ride wildly down the dirt road to where I originally was. I jumped over many bumps and fell into many weeds and bushes, but since I was going downhill, I made it relatively quickly to where I began my journey. I quickly realized that I had quite a large advantage against the police, since they would have traveled by foot to get to this dirt path, since it was too narrow for a car to fit on. However, since my destination was over at the port, which bordered the ocean, making it to the easternmost place in the city when I was on a cliff which was to the west of the city, I would eventually be forced to get off this mountain and cross through the densely populated urban dwelling. I looked at the fencing which blocked off the edge of the cliff and dirt road. There was one part of the fence that was almost non-existent. I looked at the fencing. Oh wait, it was a broken, mangled mess. If I wanted to, I could probably fit my entire motorcycle through that gap and fall off the cliff and onto the golf course, which is at the bottom. That would probably be a terrible decision, since I wouldn't have anything to protect myself from the fall. However, since there were probably cops waiting at the bottom of the cliff near the end of the cliff, it was now or never. I could feel the presence of the cops closing in on me. I could feel the months or even years that I would waste sitting in jail and never finding out my purpose. The cliff is around 50 foot tall, and there's a slope that leads from the top to the golf course. So if I do this correctly, I should be able to ride the cliff like how a surfer would ride a wave. I put my motorcycle on the fence and began to push on it. Once the fence gave way, I then put all my body weight on the seat of the motorcycle. I turned to my left and saw a short cop yelling at me not to jump off. As I was staring at him, my motorcycle tipped over and I began my descent down the rocky cliff. My motorcycle plummeted down the cliff at cartoonishly high speeds. The wind whipped my hair back and I began to lose my balance extremely quickly. After my motorcycle hit a small rock, which was near the back halfway point of the slope, I spun out violently. My motorcycle did half a dozen flips before crashing directly on top of a parking lot full of golf carts, while I, on the other hand, fell down so many times I couldn't even count. Pain blossomed throughout my body as I bounced off of the rocky cliffside. When I finally fell onto the golf course, I wasn't lucky enough to land on top of a golf cart. Instead, I fell directly onto the turf, spraining my leg violently and instantly. As the pain coursed through my body, and especially my leg, I began to crawl slowly to my motorcycle. Even though I knew it was too late, I was determined to look this job through. From an outsider's perspective, this entire scene might have seemed very pitiful or even stupid. Life isn't like a cartoon show, of course, so of course it would have been impossible to ride down a cliff. A safer option would have been to surrender to the police or ride down the dirt path and attempt to evade the police until I reached the ocean. However, I look at it another way. Even though I admit what I did there was stupid, I still stand by it. It was the first time that I had fun time on the job. I think to most people it'd be a terrifying experience. However, for me it was a very fun time. Eventually, I fell unconscious on the golf course and was arrested by the police. I pled guilty to all charges: possession of an unauthorized vehicle and attempting to flee the police, and went to jail for 7 months. During my time in jail, I met a lot of interesting people, and since I had nothing to do there except
English is not my strong suit.
I slowly became better at socializing. When I came home from jail, I threw out my ATX 3600, since I was now able to converse with people and make real-life connections. He was a good friend, but he wasn't needed anymore. After leaving prison, I wasn't able to find any jobs that would accept me. Even my old job denied me because of my criminal record. However, be it because of a miracle from God or coincidence, that I was able to find a job, not only to hire me, but also seemed extremely interesting. I became a taxi driver. 50 years ago in the 2010s, taxis started to become obsolete. After the advent of Uber and Lyft, the demand for taxis plummeted, and after the advent of self-driving taxis, regular taxi drivers became all but extinct. However, after the death of the gig economy and the Luddite regulations of 2035, Android taxis died out, and electric taxis with human drivers were brought back from near extinction. The owner of this small, family-owned taxi company was an Eastern European. He was sympathetic to my past since he was also a felon. Most of the riders that I rode, through the city, the night were partygoers, bizarre hipsters, or businessmen waiting to get home. I enjoyed listening to their stories, which was mostly them venting, and looking at the bright city skyline. I wonder how the homeless dude and his sailor
Yes,
are going.
Alright. Sorry.
Alright. Thank you, Direye.
Nice one, dude.
Hey, Deacon, right?
Thank you, Jay.
All I gotta say is get some grammar.
I wanted to edit it, but well, I did have 2 months.
Yeah, you did have time, you just refused to use it.
I can show you my other stories, but they're not good, so that's why I decided to submit this one.
Alright. Who's next on the wheel of misfortune? It's Luna! Alright, I guess I'm reading this again.
Just stopping by.
Again? You cheated?
No, when I say again, I'm the one reading again. I can't pawn it off onto someone else to read.
Why not?
Because I don't feel like it.
Also, you want to know something weird?
What?
Do you know how on like Discord desktop when you're like watching something
or watching the VC, people with animated profile pictures when they talk, they had their profile picture moves. The way mine moves when I talk is the strangest thing ever.
It's a good choice.
Why is it weird?
Just
Can
watch
I
me.
get anything else for you?
Anyhow, let's go. Dummy poem.
Let's go.
A woman once found an Elmo one day. She patted him and asked for his fur to pay. Confused and befuddled, Emerald shuttled a bundle. The rest of his kind he warned. 101 Elmos laid down their lives. The woman wreaked havoc till there was nothing but hives. 101 Elmos were compensated greatly, but their prides are something that they'll never be stately. The woman roams free, unburdened by law, for Elmo, you see, goes under no jury of diction. He's gone to court once, but never again. Elmo, you see, means nothing
Hey,
to them.
Deacon, right? Sanity.
There was no rhyming in this one. Bruh. Elmo's fur coat, softer than clouds. Elmo's fur coat. I'm sorry, not Elmo's. Elmo fur coat, blissfully in shrouds. Elmo fur coat, warms the coldest of hearts. Elmo fur coat, our new form of art. Thank you. Very epic.
You'll get sued by Sesame Street.
Shut, man.
Continuing along. The Howling Fatons, otherwise known as the Angst. They say that when you wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, someone's looking at you. Someone's staring right through your blinds or through cracks in your walls, and the only reason you would ever know is because you've been suddenly torn from your dreams. Sometimes my heart races when I awake like this. My door was bolted and my blinds were closed, and yet I'm painfully aware how awake I am. The hair on the back of my neck defying the supposedly sound laws of gravity. Often I assume it's my dog, the slow rise and fall of a dark fur, a comfort to me. It's a scarce comfort that only ever seems to last for so long. I have a nightlight in the corner that tends to cast shadows of childhood warriors long forgotten. Shadows of knights in armor, and cats in little woven baskets, discarded playthings that lie dormant in the crevices of my room and the backdrop of my mind. But I don't know a knight, and I particularly don't like cats as much as I used to. The shadows aren't what really scares me, though. Not like the mirror in the corner, not like what lies beyond the darkness or the light, untouched by anything at all. My heart races faster than normal as I bolt up to see my armored hero gone. The feline friend's no longer there as I comfort my nightly paranoia. Typically my heart would come down by now, but not tonight. Not on the night when something in my shadows fear is peering.
I gotta go. Freaking out.
Staring into my soul well, I am none the wiser. My very soul quivers when I finally meet the gaze of the thing that wakes me up during the odd witching hours. Tears sting my eyes and cloud my vision in defense of my memories that will forever be stained by the image I will never forget, never be able to cover up or even explain, never be able to cry out to my mother about it, because anyone with half a brain would tell me I have finally delved too far into insanity. But I see it. I finally see what haunts my worries and makes even the shadows turn tail and wink out of existence. They know they will never compare to the thing that heights beyond anyone's recognition. The only thing that only creeps out and gnaws the minds of those who are smart enough to realize it exists. Or perhaps the familiar eyes that stare back at me only bother the girl that sleeps with their doors closed and her blinds bolted. The girl that is beyond armored warriors saving, beyond the shifty feline's redemption. For the thing that lurks beyond the realm of everything I know, that creeps out and makes all other childish fears pale and weep until they're nothing more than small children themselves. For the only thing that lies beyond the rift of no return that resides in my mirror is me.
That was the autobiography.
Very
That
good,
was
thank
good.
you, Leonard.
That was good.
That was good.
Alright.
You lose 5 points though. It was in science fiction.
Yeah,
Joey,
like, it literally did not fit, like, it didn't have to be science fiction, it just had to be future related in some shape, way, or form. And then it wasn't. So, disqualified, first and foremost.
Yeah. Isn't it like the Americans, like,
Alright.
the fucking
Hold on, I have a
Victorian
question.
tomb?
Yeah?
Wait, Chris, did you finish reading mine?
No, I haven't read yours yet.
Yes.
So what's an American thing now?
Alright, who will go first? Joey or Riley? Joey or Riley? Let's see.
Joey, come on.
Why are you asking me?
Let's go, I'm last again.
Yeah, voicemail.
It's a monkey.
Oh shit, he won last time. He was last.
No, he didn't. Oh wait, you mean Riley? Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's the worst
I
shit
went
I've
last
ever
both
written.
times.
All right,
It's
Joey,
like the
read it
worst
to me.
shit. Okay, you want me to read it to you?
I don't want to read
All
this.
right.
Is all I have to say. I'm not even gonna look.
All right.
I don't wanna read it.
I'm gonna zoom in. A Monkey by Joseph Peschel. A story of compassion and imposter.
I'm pulling out my.
Door seal complete. Welcome, crewmates, to the SS Big Among Us. The speaker welcomes us. The two-door system slide open to reveal the cafeteria of a giant red bun and a middle table, labeled for emergencies. The 10 of us new astronauts step aboard. We walk around in amazement. Countless years of training. We're all the special ones selected to go to space. Two crewmates walk out into the cafeteria, striped red and white, the other metallic silver, respectively. Our seniors. Welcome, freshmen and women. We're glad to finally get more help, right, Silver? Yeah, the extra 8 manpower in the heads will surely give us time to breathe now. It was then we all felt a little weird. 8? But there are 10 of us. Huh. The two seem to notice that 2. There seems to be 2 more than expected. Yeah, we'll be back. We're going to call HQ and ask. You always be hungry at the trip. You're allowed to use the cafeteria as you wish. We'll be back in maybe an hour. I eat a burger and sit at a table alone. Yellow walks up to me and joins me. Hey, Blue, it's been a while since we talked. It's been a year, right? At the academy? I nod. Yeah, you were at the health department, correct? We continue our talks and make up the time since we last seen each other. A table across the room with 3 seems to be talking about something interesting before standing up and leaving the room together. Green, red, orange all disappear behind the door, closing up behind them. 20 minutes later, they return. 3 hours later, everyone seems to wonder where silver and striped red and white went. Worried, I brought Yellow with me to search for them. In the command room, there we find it. 2 bodies of our seniors. Knife wounds on the bodies, the work of a human. Me and Yellow fetching and running back to give her to you and hit the red button and rained the whole ship. Everyone turns to us. See us painting and sweating. What happened, Blue? Pink asked. This pink. Oh, I forgot about that. Silver and red and white striped are dead in the control room. Shock and disbelief fills the room. You shouldn't joke about those things, White says in denial. Everyone stands around the bodies. What happened, White says? I don't know, I say, still in shock. These are stab wounds from our crewmate, Gil says. He's a medical professional, so he would know. There's one of us. There's a plaster among us. Music starts playing around us. It must be green, red, or orange. They were gone when they died. I didn't see who said that. Yeah, all of them are gone. Before I found them, I respond with, well, how do we know it's not you? I was accused by White to be an imposter. We have no way of knowing who did it yet. For now, so stay safe and rest up. We all agree and head to our bedrooms to sleep.
Wait, why are you guys going to sleep? There's been 3 kid murders and your reactions to go to
Day
bed.
1. We wake to the buzz of an alarm. That's the button. There's yelling and screaming. I run out the hallway with Yellow, who's also just ran out the hallway. We return to the cafeteria where we see 4 others and 4 bloody bodies on the floor, laid out in rows.
Why are you guys going to sleep?
Green was one of them, but red and orange still stand. Speak you 2! I snapped at the 2 murderers. You killed him! He's hiding your secret! Nice spelling. You're all acting hella sus! I lose all cool. Yeah, but there were no other people who could have done it. Yellow agrees with me. Let's kill them all! Then White responds. Red and orange look super distressed. Is that us? I swear! That's what an imposter would say, I respond with. Okay, let's pull it. We'll eject him if the majority agrees. We vote. We laugh. Who peed me? Oh,
We vote on a small program. What app is this?
okay. We vote on a small program on a tablet. Vote 1. Well, by 1, we decided to eject the felons. We bashed open their helmets against the tables and we put them in the air gate. They screamed, "That's not them." Tears of desperation could be seen as they slam in the door. I reach for a lever and pull. Alarm sound as they sucked into the black void. As they passed by the ship's lights, we could see red implode in a gory, bloody mess. The windows are splattered in his blood. I walk up to the radio. I walk up to the windows to observe what I just did. I felt like a monster. Then I see it. A picture that must have been unread. It's him holding a young girl. I don't tell anyone. All right, we must continue our duties, I say. Everyone clearly demoralized. Up to this point, by the way, this is when I started Reddit today. I had to finish it real quick. I'm sorry. I wake up and go to the hall. I check the computer to see that the mother base has yet to reply. I start tasks, but it's oddly quiet. Then I see it. Bodies that are several years old. 3 of them. I ran into the cafeteria, hit the red button. White and yellow join me. Fear washes up their face. The imposter is one of us. It must be White because I've been with Yellow more than I have anyone. We vote. I vote for White, but Yellow votes for me and White votes for Yellow. We all freak out and run for the nearest weapon. We look at each other. We are really fucked. I run away into the defense system and lock myself inside. Suddenly the ship shakes. Alarms go off. Alarms go off. I put twice. There was an explosion in the deck. I'm the only survivor. The event opens up. 2 come out. One striped red and white, the other metallic silver. Damn, you guys are retarded. Then I'm killed.
I'm never speaking to you again.
Oh,
Left and how many imposters were left?
Everyone's dead, but imposters. Okay, my original story was that was going to be that the 2 imposters was originally the 2 people who started out in the building, right? But they faked their deaths, right? Well, it's a story. Okay. The because it's really dead. That was the worst thing I ever wrote. I'm sorry.
I'm never speaking to you again, Joey.
You want me to read the page of the story I was originally gonna write?
No. I don't.
It's actually probably better.
It's probably better, but no. I don't know how much suffering I can handle left. I already have one more story to go. I already have another story to go. I'm not doing it again. Riley, it's your turn.
oh. All right,
Riley,
Chris.
you haven't paragraphed like
Anything. Sorry, 1 thing, 2 things. I paragraphed 2 things.
oh, god damn it. All right, Riley, good luck.
I'm sorry, Chris, but if you expect me to read this out, I'd rather die.
So I'm reading it out again. Riley, answer me.
Huh? Repeat that one more time?
So I'm reading it out then.
Yes, please. Although I'm gonna die regardless, but on the inside, but
Riley, you didn't even how am I
can read it.
okay, let me make a point of something. I have this specific criticism for somebody in my creative writing class. They had like massive paragraphs that I couldn't follow because they were so large I would lose my place in it. And Riley, you're doing the exact thing I criticized somebody in my creative writing class for. Like there are probably good places to paragraph, and you just sort of left it as one big fuck off the wall of text. That's right. Okay, I'm gonna pull out my writing piece. I have it on me right now. Fucking the Hope and Darkness
Wait,
bullshit
you don't like
fan
Dexter
fiction.
paragraphs,
I wrote it like that.
Riley?
No, he doesn't, because the bitch ass motherfucker.
okay, paragraphing was like
I
an
was gonna say-
afterthought, alright? I was mostly focused on
Yeah, I guess we should focus on themes and plot
Grammar's very
more
important.
than
You want me to read it?
that is true.
So okay, okay.
If you get it to me, I'll read it.
Make Direye read
I
it.
think Vinny's gonna read it. Oh,
so
it's all
Game
what
already.
What was that? No. Okay.
me dying on the inside.
Benching.
Okay. 3, 2. Beyond to Arcadia.
Arcadian, yeah.
Beyond to your cave.
Beyond to Arcadia. I
There's a
read.
reason.
How
There's a
far do you
reason for
think the lip reaches? Above them was no ceiling that they could see, at least. Only an abyss of darkness with blue dots of light that were embedded at every floor. The platform came to a stop. Captain, it seems that this is as high as it goes. The captain gazed upward into the darkness above. It's not designed to go all the way up to the top. The lead engineer darted
Got something you might be
and
interested in.
glanced above before
Yeah, don't
looking
bite
back
on
at the
the
console of the lift.
Too busy to hear
Not
about a
likely,
ripper.
will take
Ain't
quite a bit of time to
Here,
find out
Cascade
why
Builders.
it will
Rippers up here.
continue upwards. The navigator approached the captain from behind.
I
Sir,
heard how you and
we are on
Boozer
the
got hit
fifth
by
floor of Gehenna. Murmurs
around
among
China.
the team
Where
spread in an instant.
Up by
All right,
separation
everyone,
method.
calm down.
Back.
You're gonna
know
have a
where
bit of a look
It's on
around,
firsthand.
and once
That's
we
their
find
game
out what's
for town.
happening, the lip
Don't
we'll
worry.
call it there
It's a
and make our way back to the Riptide. The lead engineer with the console of the lift opened the door to the floor. The platform itself was actually a foot above the entrance. Well, Captain looks like it will be. Captain
looking.
looks like it will be designed to go higher.
Go,
The
D.
platform
And
was
he
then
is
lowered to
stupid
match the
with you.
floor of the level. Boss, I know we got mechs, but are you certain that we should be scavenging
something to say
on the
about
German, on the Gehenna levels? It's going to be difficult to tell if there are low tiers through the radar. The captain pondered to himself before reassuring the crew. As long as we stay away from the outside for the most part, we'll likely be fine. But if we pick up anything massive energy signature, we'll come back to the lift. And so the scavenger team, excluding engineers left on the left, began exploring the first level of Gehenna. Okay, is it pronounced Gehenna
Gehenna. It's Gehenna.
or Gehenna?
It's Gehenna.
He lives in Gehenna.
Gehenna.
Hey,
Dear listener,
paragraphing. Let's go,
What did you
poggers.
say?
Okay, I'll pick up from
Can
here,
you read the
Direye.
rest, Minnie? My nose is like so stuffed.
Yeah, I could hear you sound like a bitch ass motherfucker. Let me drink some water first.
I can't do that.
I wanted to die on the inside so bad.
Hitoshi woke up to the obnoxious speaking of it. Peaking? Obnoxious beeping of his phone alarm. Hitoshi breakfast downstairs. I don't know what sound of voice I should ascribe to that, so.
A mother.
Hitoshi sat up and groggily rubbed his eyes. Yeah, I'll be down in a bit. He then reached out his phone on the nightstand, shutting off the alarm and setting down another one for 5 minutes before laying back in bed. I feel that. Also, Riley, I'll make a point. Fuck. I'll make a point for me. You know, you're supposed to, like, start a new line every time you have a new person speak, right?
Fuck.
That's a basic rule of dialogue. Anyhow,
No, I usually just put a sentence in between them and call it a day.
but that's against the rules of dialogue.
Alright, time to.
Oh, you're not allowed to fix it though. If I see you editing this document, I will beat you to death.
What the fuck?
Just a few seconds after closing his eyes, he would hear the blaring of an alarm. Shocked, he instantly realized to find it to be nearly pitch black. Huh? What happened to the lights? I could have sworn I just set the alarm a few seconds ago. He reached out to his phone on the nightstand only to find it wasn't there. Not only that, his nightstand wasn't there either. Instead of the wood of the nightstand he expected, he felt something squishy, soft, and damp. After immediately pulling his hand back, he realized that the alarm wasn't the alarm he had set. It was the one you'd expect to hear in dire emergencies at a facility or a warehouse. Soon right after he realized this wasn't his room and backed up to a wall. Once his eyes adjusted somewhat to the darkness, he found himself on the ground in a compact room with scrap all over the floor. The floor and walls seemed to be made of some kind of metal. After following the wall, he found the door and opened it only to be blinded by the light. The room ahead was massive yet empty. A red, almost flesh-like material and black scorch marks were blotted all over the different sections of the walls and floors. With light peering into the compact room, he saw what he had felt earlier was exactly like the red flesh-like surfaces in the other rooms. He noticed that his hand that touched it was lightly soaked in some kind of red liquid. In the other room were two massive doors that nearly reached the ceiling, likely for some kind of vehicle. Next to each massive door were smaller doors meant for individuals. Hitoshi approached one of the doors, and before he opened it, he heard the thumping of metal on the other side. Cautiously, he opened the door just enough to peer through to get a restricted look into the room. The room, much like the room he was peering from, had a scorched marks and red flesh blob over the wall and floor, except in had an addition of clutter with scraps of metal. A person then came to view, and Hitoshi darted forth into the room and nearly called out to him before seeing that the person was armed with a rifle. In fact, there were several armed people in the room now in view. He hid behind a column in the room, pondering what to do next. The people in the room had various clothing and were mostly rummaging through crates and heaps of metal. He soon found the sources of the thumping of metal that he heard earlier, and the reason for the massive doors. They were mechs. They were about 11 feet tall and 6 feet wide. 2 arms and 2 legs, and seemed to be piloted by people inside a cockpit. They were either assisting the people in their rummaging, mostly carrying heavy loads of what they had found, or carried some kind of heavy weapons. He had no idea what to do if they were friendly or hostile. They hadn't noticed him yet, but they seemed to be some kind of scavengers. Maybe this place or facility was abandoned, Hitoshi muttered to himself. He quickly dismissed the idea, as the lights were still on, and if it were abandoned, the electricity would likely be cut. Hitoshi's pondering would be interrupted by the slamming of a door to his right. Oh shit, everyone back up. The outside is right on the other side of this wall, yelled the man who slammed the door. The scavengers briskly distanced themselves from the wall as the mechs turned over their sizable weapons towards it. The outside, the way out. Hitoshi immediately bolted for the door. Hey kid, where are you going? Hitoshi felt someone grab his shoulder, but continued rushing toward the door.
Wait, is it?
Okay, wait,
What?
sorry. I had to take a moment to just think. The door itself was one of those watertight doors with valves you'd find on ships. Before he would be able to turn the valve of the door, he'd be pulled back. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? It's the outside. Hitoshi would quickly break free from the man's grasp and make a break for it to one of the other rooms. In a flash, Hitomi would be knocked to the ground. To him, it was a blur, but he felt something hit him squarely in the face. Jesus, Vienna, you didn't need to knee the poor kid. Vienna quickly turned to the man, which dragged Hitoshi earlier. Sorry, Litz, I thought he was... well. Litz sighed. It's fine. Let's then turn towards Hitoshi. Hey, bud, are you alright? Litz crouched to check if Hitoshi was alright and offered his hand to the boy. Other than pain and a bloody nose, Hitoshi was for the most part alright. Hitoshi quickly backed away from the two. Who are you? Sorry, I just thought of fucking who are you? Hadvar saying that at the beginning of Skyrim. At this point, he was hyperventilating, making it quite difficult to actually hear him. Relax, kid, I'm Litz, and the young girl to my left is Vienna. Litz forced a smile. Where are we, Hitoshi, at this point was? What? Hey, calm down, we're not raiders. We're on the first floor of Gehenna. Litz assured. The first floor of what? Hitoshi backed himself to the wall. Litz's expression turned to one of confusion. Are you with another scavenging team? How did you get here? He didn't know what to say. I don't know how I got here. Hitoshi faced downwards. A man with a beret approached the three behind others scavenging. Hey, is everything alright over there? Let's turn to see the captain approaching. Captain Huick, yes, for the most part. On the other side of the wall, we got the outside. And well, this kid wanted the death signage or something, and booked it for it when we spotted him. He didn't seem to know how he got here. The captain turned towards Hitoshi, scrutinizing appearance before turning towards Lutz. An amnesiac? Lutz placed his hand on his chin. Maybe not out of the possibility. It would explain a few things. Vienna crouched down and moved towards Hitoshi. Hey, what do you know of Cathonica? Thank you, Riley. Very cool. Great ending.
Dude,
Riley
I
just
feel
DM'd me, shoot me. Alright.
Riley is good. I don't feel proud. Is that it?
That's all of them. That's all the pieces.
Will the judging commence?
Yes. Let's go piece by piece, first and foremost. So, wait, where's Joey?
Not here.
Oh, he's at the bottom now, bruh.
Yeah, I changed my username.
I see that.
Not my username, but my
Nickname.
nickname.
Yeah. Anyhow, starting off, we'll start from who went first. So that was Direye. Your piece
Yes.
was actually not terrible. It had a story. It wasn't a shitpost, which I was surprised about. Like, I expected a shitpost when I read your piece. I'm not gonna lie to you, Direye.
I think I've only have ever submitted shitposts before.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused to know, or to see that you weren't submitting me a shitpost. I think that its length is suitable, and it has a pretty good set of themes. It fits within the criteria I gave, and it's overall well written. I think that the setting could be explored a bit more. We don't really know much about the world, and
Yeah,
I think
very
that
rushed.
I think that the world is a very important part of it that you're sort of not highlighting enough. Because like you have this setting that's like it's futuristic, but we don't know what it's like. Other than besides a few details, like you mentioned like some specific regulations, which were pretty cool to see, and all that. Overall, it seems reasonable, and it's a well written piece, despite, or well, it has a good story. I don't know about well written. Details are there where they need to be. It's not overly excessive. I feel that your paragraphs are a little excessive at times. Like, cut those down to about half size, please, so I don't have to read this giant paragraph this long. And especially this. You don't need
Big chunk.
you don't need more than a page of a paragraph is all I gotta say, because that's not a paragraph at that point, that's a wall of text. But otherwise, it's a good piece. I'd give it a 8 out of 10.
Paul? Better than a 4 out of 10. Let's go. We're improving.
Alright, writing comp number 1. Or rather, the Howling Fuck. I don't know how to say that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyhow, starting along with this piece, I think that it's short, but it gives across the message that it needs to. It's only 2 paragraphs long, so it was very easy to read. And overall, I think that it was pretty like cool, just setting piece. It was just explained, like the details were really cool. I like detailed pieces, and this one was pretty solid on the detail. Every detail was meaningful. It was symbolic in some way, a lot of figurative language here, just overall well written. And the only problem is it is disqualified for the fact that it literally did not meet the one requirement I had for this, which was that it had to be somehow futuristic or related
Say
to the
that
future.
it takes place in the future, Luna.
That was
quickly.
literally a qualification for the pieces. Yeah.
I didn't know it was necessarily a qualification. I did say in the announcements, but I never knew it was exactly Luna, when we announced it, I said it like I don't know, when I first announced it, then I did another ad about it, and then I stopped doing it because I thought everybody just knew.
Yeah. Apologies.
Also, the last
I
writing competition, he told us about it.
yeah, I told you guys this like 2.5 months ago, so I guess it's fair that some of you didn't know, but also should have gotten all the details for the writing competition. Because I will have themes for these writing competitions when I host them. And I'm going to continue that for the future. It's a good piece. It deserves a 9 out of 10. But also it can't win because it literally is not breaking not making the one requirement I had for it.
What's the one requirement?
It's to be futuristic.
It has to be future. Oh, that was the premise of this.
That's the one theme that you had to have: future in some way or regard.
Oh, interesting.
Joey, you get a 2. I'm not even gonna criticize this in like a meaningful way.
What if you believe in cyclical time?
No.
Yay.
We should do a mystery.
Unless like you're writing like a Anne Prim like future.
Oh, that would be so based.
Like an Anne Prim future in like a big city like that like got overtaken by like ruin or by like plants and whatnot, and somebody's just gathering like herbs or whatever. Like that's a pretty cool future story.
Hey, Kat, do you want to actually write like a actual story for the next competition, like together?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it together.
Yeah, I've never submitted one.
Neither have I really. I've only submitted like D&D notes and a joke ass poem.
All right. Anyhow,
I've only been to this one.
Anyhow,
we should actually write a play.
We could write a play, but that'd take effort.
And then the final one is Beyond Arcadia. Well, for one, it didn't feel complete, Riley. You were just really getting into the meat and potatoes of the story before you just sort of ended it. Because you're a slow ass motherfucker at your writing.
Fucking Nux fan looking ass.
I think it's well written, and it has cool details, and the setting is interesting. We do have some cool. We had like a pre-establishment thing, which I always love doing, like a shot where we're just seeing like other people before we finally get our protagonist. That's always pretty dope. But also, it's very vague. There's a lot of things that aren't detailed enough, and also you broke my most important rule of writing. New line for every new speaker, because it helps us keep track of the speaker.
Oh my god.
Oh wait, does he still have me muted?
I have you unmuted, Cal.
Okay.
I did it about 5 minutes ago.
When I was gone.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anyhow, finalizing my opinions on Beyond Arcadia, a solid 7 out of 10, incomplete. Congratulations, Direye, you won.
Well, what was Direye's score?
8.
8 out of 10.
Yep.
Luna would have won.
Yeah, Luna would have won if she actually, wrote for the genre, followed the prompt.
No, if I submit D&D notes
next
time, I'll follow the genre.
Direye, did I ever say what the prize was?
No.
$20.
It's $20.
So I give myself $20.
I'm the one giving out the prize. Direye, how would you like your money?
Can you just buy a game for me?
What game?
Pokemon subs.
A visual novel.
Pokemon subs.
Yeah, sure. Just send me the name. All right. Anyhow, I hope you all had fun.
Wow, Direye, you won $20.
You guys get your $20. Do with it as you wish.
Congrats.
And I wish you guys the best. I will be announcing.
Are you okay?
You guys will have 1 month for this next writing competition, and afterwards we will suffer a lot, and I might write something again. We'll see.
All right, so
I'll finish writing something for once.